Uh, Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Divine Mess. I'm joined by my very gorgeous Mauritian, French, New Zealand, multicultural melting pot of a co-host, Mr. David Perriman. And it's a pleasure to always show up on a Tuesday and spend some time with my friend and talk about all things weird and wonderful and spiritual and divine energy and whatever happens to come to mind. So I will share a little bit about myself, and then I will handball across the screen to my friend, and he can share a little bit about himself, seeing as we introduced each other last week. We'll have a go at introducing ourselves this week, see if we can do it well. My name's Tina Marie, and I am a love coach, and I help women in second seasons of their life rediscover the frequency of love, because most of the time I have found the women I've dealt with have forgotten what it feels like, not only to unconditionally love themselves, but to love people around them with zero expectations of outcome. So it's always a fun, interesting journey when we start to pull love apart and see what it looks like for each and every individual. And I love what I do. It lights me up. It excites me. I wait for the challenges every single day as to what's going to come across my desk and the people that I get to meet. So, and I also, speaking of love talking to this man. He is one of the best humans that I know, and I will allow him to introduce himself and our topic of discussion today, and we can go from there. How does that sound?
That doesn't sound good, but
why?
No, I'm joking. Thank you so much for your introduction. Welcome everyone for what is it, like 13?
Episode 12
or 13. See, we are still lost in that.
Oh, it's in the mid-teens somewhere.
Yeah. So if you're listening, this episode is all about our A series, which will continue from last week, which we started with abundance, then acceptance, and this week is all about what Tina had for breakfast this morning. That's what she told me. But before we know what she had for breakfast, I'm Kirti Deva Perman, also known as Deva. Like Tina like to call me Angel of Light, lovingly.
That's him.
And I'm a holistic life coach. I have been in the field of psychology and counseling for over a decade now. It sounds weird saying that, even if I look like 18, if you're not looking at me right now, if I shave maybe.
Baby face.
Yeah. But thank you so much for listening every single week. We are looking forward to the comments. We are watching that space, and we are really excited where this podcast is going and how we are changing life, because I've been receiving comments about people now getting more confident in saying I'm done, which is Tina's famous sentence.
Ooh, that's you.
So this is making waves, like we started by saying in our second episode, riding the wave.
Yes.
And talking about that. So I feel that this has started this journey. So I help also, like Tina, she help women. I help mostly the men, mental health, and to especially tapping in the divine masculine. And that's where my co-host come in with her divine feminine. And every week we meet and we chat. We normally chat nearly every day. Yeah, we have a break on Sunday, but that doesn't work.
It doesn't work, does it? It just, like, I woke up this morning and there's not a message, there's not a boo, there's not a nothing, and I'm like, where's my mate? What's wrong?
A weird, funny video or something. But that's our topic. Like coming back to our topic is like, because sometimes Tina sends me pictures of what she's having for breakfast, but today it's about she had adversity for breakfast.
Adversity. There is when it comes to raising 4 boys. There's always some form of adversity, some sort of challenge. We had a computer that wouldn't charge. We had a child with a potentially broken finger after playing basketball. We've got another child that needs to go to school and deal with some stuff. And the other one I haven't heard of. So sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes that's not a great thing. So adversity is a really interesting one. It's kind of like someone once explained to me about whether you are a potato or an egg. Like when you're dipped in hot water, like when you put in cold water, because everything kind of seems really great and juicy and fun and fantastic. Oh, I'm in a bath, life is great. And then the water starts to heat up and heat up and heat up. And for one side, when the water heats up, after a period of time, the potato, it kind of crumbles into nothing. Whereas an egg just gets firmer and it knows how to hold space for itself. Whereas a potato, unfortunately, it doesn't. So that's how I kind of like to view adversity, is when I'm looking at it going, well, am I the potato or am I the egg in this situation? You know, can I hold firm? Can I know exactly who I am and what I want out of this, and what's this particular situation here to teach me? You know, why am I having to traverse this type of adversity? And going, oh, maybe we need to have a little bit more of a look at being prepared in the mornings, or maybe we need to, you know, choose a different sport to play, or maybe we need to speak to our children about emotional intelligence and, you know, what their plans are and their forward vision is for the future, and to give them something a little bit more to think of, other than whether their brothers had one more Lamington or one more glass of juice than they have. You know, it's no different for raising boys as it is for raising girls, but they think that that's an adversity that they have to handle, is whether there's enough food in the cupboard. Because trust me, they're like a plague of locusts. We put food in the cupboard and the next minute it's gone. So I deal with it on a daily basis, the adversity part. But it's almost like, oh, bring it on, because you get to learn so much about yourself in going, oh, didn't think I could handle that, but you know what? I'm not too bad. I can handle that. How about you, Mr. Dava?
Well, it's funny about what you just shared about that story. I heard a different version of it.
Yeah.
Like, is it like soften you on the inside, or does it
Yes,
harden you on the inside as well?
correct.
And that's a different
That's a
perspective
perspective. Yeah.
that I had about adversity.
Mm.
And yeah, because I was reflecting on what you just said, and for me it was like I always focus on the other perspective that I had about this story, and
Yeah.
this tell you about how we look at every challenge, how different perspective we have.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean like one is right or wrong, you know.
No.
And that's where the judgment is coming.
Correct.
And I like when you say like you bring it on. It's like, but sometimes in that moment when you are facing like challenging times, sometimes it feels that you can't handle it.
Oh, yes.
You have the,
100%. Yep.
it's like you have that 1 second, or maybe one split second, or maybe 1 minute, or maybe 1 month, or 1 year, or whatever it is. You feel you can't handle it. But
Yeah.
actually, when you're going through it and you're like, bring it on. I can take it on. Like,
Yeah.
and sometimes when you challenge the universe and you say, oh, is that what you got? Like,
Is that all you got? Bring it.
yeah, it's
Give
like,
me more.
it's like, yeah, just bring it more. But that's getting a bit cocky, you know.
That's the ego talking
Yeah,
too.
that's the ego. But
Mm-hmm.
it's more about being, I think it's like recognizing whatever you're going through is building you and making you feel stronger. And sometimes it's like accepting that wave that feels maybe like, it's a tsunami that's hitting you.
Mm.
And it's like a wave after wave, and it's like, oh, I can't breathe right now. But it's that kind of wave that you feel is bringing you out of alignment.
Yes,
And that's
true.
our linking to our next A word that we were going to talk about, is like adversity. Does it bring you out of alignment, or is it puts you into alignment, like, or you makes you align?
I think it depends on how you view the adversity. Like, I know that when I'm dealing with my ex-husband and the vortex that comes with dealing with him, it's, for me, it's that endeavoring to balance who I am now and not reverting into the person I was when I was married to him, that quick to quick to snap back, and the quick to respond, and the like defending my position all the time. And that I have to learn to take a step back and put my hands up and go, what's he actually asking for here? What's he actually looking for? Because he was always the type of person that would throw out the line, and I'd be the type of person that would go on the line and he'd tow me in. And it was this hideous repetitive cycle all the time. So it's not until you sort of step back and go, is this really an adverse situation? Or is it someone asking very poorly for something that they need and require from you? Like if you step into it from your wounded space and going, he's always attacking me and he's always saying nasty things about me and all the rest of it, is it truly an adverse space that that you're allowing your alignment to be yanked, and not being, this is me. I don't get knocked out of space every time a message comes in or an email comes in. I sit on it and I consider it and I look at what's being asked of me, and then I choose to respond to it rather than react to it. Because the minute that I allow myself to get all wobbly and get flustered and freaked out, then my alignment is completely off. And then so it just ends up in this downward spiral of him then me, then him then me, then that, and it's yuck energy to be part of. So I have to go, no, that's not how I behave anymore. This is not an adverse situation. It's just asking me to deliver information in a different way. And like you say, it's about perspective, right? It's about looking at it and going, if I was in his shoes, how would I feel? If I was in his shoes and I was being the last person to know about something, how would I feel? Well, I don't think I'd like that very much. How can I change that situation so he's not? Or how can I communicate better, or how can I look at it differently so I get to maintain my energetic alignment, and that he's not pushing me left or right of center. I get to stay true to myself and then keep carrying on. I can't ever hope for him to be in the same train of thought as me or look at situations the way I do, because we're each unique and we each have our own perspective on how we look at things. So all I can hope is that he receives the information with the intent that it's delivered. So that was speaking from experience from last week, because it's my week.
It was all about acceptance for both of us, I feel. Like
Yay.
we had different situations, obviously.
Yes, correct.
But we were talking about that, like we were like texting each other and saying like, just accept.
Surrender.
So, yeah.
It's okay. And when you
And
feel
it's
that you
okay.
have, do it again.
But in that moment, when you're facing that adverse situation, you're like, oh my God, like, is it going to end? is there a end to it? Like, I know it's my ego speaking in that moment. I recognize that. I know I can see myself. I can see that ego speaking and saying, or getting scared or getting angry or reacting, like you said, like going, instead of taking a step back and act afterward, it's like reacting in the moment. And you can see when you're doing your inner work, like you can see that, like you can see,
Yes.
you become aware that, oh, wait a second, that's my ego thinking about that. That's my ego.
Correct.
And you can actually, or you can text your friend, your bestie, and say, yeah, so what do you think about that situation?
Yes.
It's
What do
like,
you think about my response? Was that measured enough? Was it okay? Or was I just completely
yeah.
talking fairy language to somebody else?
But that's in that moment where I feel for me, when you were sharing your experience, I feel that I was reflecting on my experience as well, in the sense, like I was saying, because I got a sense that you would tap in your feminine more in that moment, right? And then you will actually take that moment, step back and reflect and say, what should I say next? Or how do I feel in that moment? Right? But whereas I would like go straight, logical, yeah, it's like, what's the next step? What should I do? Oh, this is not going to work. And it's like boom, 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 like going into that planning mode, logical thinking, more like illogical thinking. It's not like really rational. I would say it's irrational in that moment. It's more that fear that would take over. But that's where the balance of the divine feminine and masculine come into play. That's where you need to tap in, I feel, when you're facing that adverse situation. Maybe take that moment just to step back and reflect, and then act instead of reacting.
But I think also too, to allow yourself to feel the feelings in the adverse situation, where you're feeling pressured, or you're feeling disappointed, or you're feeling frustrated, or whatever the feelings that are arising for you. If you don't give them time and space to recognize what they are, they're going to remain dormant within you, but then they become buttons that other people can press, and you don't realize that that's what happens to it, and it sits there in your body, and it may be weeks later, it may be months later, it may be 20 years later, that all of a sudden you turn around and all of that anger that you've held on to, or the sadness or the frustration or whatever, it all just gets spewed out on top of someone that you had no intention of that happening to. But that's what happens when we're not dealing with adversity in the moment, and trying to have that, as we were discussing earlier before the podcast, that 360 look at it and going, well, what's it endeavoring to show me, rather than reacting on people's upfront, the first part that you get. And I notice with our boys that they can be quite, it's the language they use, or that how snappy and quick they are to the way in which they ask for things. And I'm like, oh, hang on, not with me, but with each other. And you go, you know what, if you just took it down a couple of notches and you actually asked with a little bit of love in your voice. But they're boys, so sometimes I'm just, you have to take a deep breath and just let them do it for themselves.
Sure.
Like, but how about you? Like, I mean, how do you normally step through something that's uncomfortable? Because that's essentially what adversity is, isn't it? It's being placed in an area of discomfort for us, or an area of growth for us as humans. Like, how do you, is it easy to recognize, or is it kind of like that simmering pot that just gets hotter and hotter and hotter for you?
I think, like, I know my parents are listening to that, so they would highly acknowledge that. Um, because back in my teenage years, I would be like the volcano. So I typically said that I will look like Hulk. I won't become like the green one, like, but I'm just saying, like, I was just hoping maybe I become like that and just bash everything. When I was a teenager, I would say like I would react like you were saying about the boys, I would react.
Mm.
And if you at that moment, because I know like you were saying that right now, like about just step back and love and like if in that moment you told me that, mm, I don't think we would be friends, like
No, mum normally gets this response. Mum
I'm
normally
pretty
gets the
sure.
middle finger response and the
Mm,
what are you talking about? Like
like
they
no,
can't hear it for themselves.
no, no, and that's what I learned over the years. It's one of the things that men struggle with, like, and I'm the first to recognize that, like, when facing tough challenges, taking that step back is really it's in itself a challenge for me.
Mhm.
And just to reflect and say, like you did, oh, just reflect. I'm finding it funny. I'm not laughing at what you just said, but
No, but you just it feels
I'm
uncomfortable.
it's like I'm engaging with the energy you just said it. So it's not making fun of you, right? And
You
it's
always do, but I love you anyway,
yeah.
so it makes no difference.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, it's like taking that step back and just um reflecting, writing down maybe, or talking to someone. I would find it so hard,
Mm.
but now I'm easing into it, like taking that step back, because I feel that over the years I have acknowledged that reacting is not the solution, is not helping anyone in that situation. So it's best that for me and for anyone involved in that, in any adversity, or even if it's only me and me, it's like, okay, let's take a step back and just reflect. What
So
can
did
be?
you find previously that you would just try and hustle and push your way through it, like, just shove it down and keep, marching forward and pretending like either it wasn't existing or, it is, but I just, I have to keep pushing hard and pushing through instead of, like, say, just, okay, I can't be everything to everybody.
Yeah. Well, there's a TV show I watch called Chicago. No, sorry, not Chicago Fire. It was 911, right?
Mhm.
And it's about like the firefighters from LA and the first responders, right? And there was one guy in that story. The episode was focused on him, and that episode really hit me hard, and I feel it's appropriate,
Mhm.
uh, because he was doing, so he's kind of similar age in that episode, like I was back then. And it was like reflecting when he go back in his childhood, he had to be the happy kid. He had to show up every single day and laugh, and didn't understand what was happening with his parents or with his environment. If there was something bugging them, he wouldn't understand that, right?
Mhm.
And then and then coming into teenage or university as well, he was always in trouble. He was always like failing or something. I was like, oh, that's resonate with someone. And I'm sure my mom is like, mm-hmm,
Mhm.
yeah, I know someone.
Yes, that sounds like my boy, most definitely. Yeah.
And it's like, until he went into therapy, like he realized that how he was just reacting in those moments, and not like taking a step back, because what he would get into fights according to that story.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, but I know I know, like, I would be tempted to,
Mm.
uh, to get into fights, but it's just to defend yourself, and it's just to be, like, I feel from that story is like he was not heard. he
Yeah.
was he was not heard, he was not seen for who he is,
Mhm.
because at one point in his life they asked him like, who are you, like, according to his,
Golden question.
and
Golden
and
question.
it's like, how you always say like no labeling,
Yeah.
and he went like, I don't know, and he went from job to job to job, from state to state, according to that episode. And I feel that that's, but then they said something about him, he's like, he never gives up,
Yeah.
he never ever gives up, and that's how they recognize him. And I saw me in that guy, like,
Yeah.
I know it's an episode, right?
But the
But
thing is, it has to resonate.
yeah.
It's happened for somebody. That's where the stories come from, or like there's been some element of it in one of the story writers that have put it together to go, this is how I've felt, and this is my way of articulating it through TV or through film. But you're not personally, like we sit here every week, you're not personally putting yourself up and going,
Yeah.
this is how I felt.
Yeah.
And it came to light this week with my kids, that particularly one of mine, that physical pain is much easier to endure than emotional for boys, or for boys that are moving through into manhood, that it's much easier to cop a punch in the face than it is to say, well, my heart hurts, or this doesn't feel good, and I don't know who I am. I don't know who I'm supposed to be. I don't know where I fit. And that, I think that's a massive space for teens particularly, is that's their adversity. That's their onion peeling in that time frame from 13 to 20, in that space of trying to peel back what mum and dad have told me who I'm supposed to be. This is their form of adversity, in going, well, how do I discover what I want my labels to be versus what other people think they should be?
Yeah.
And then them coming into their own form of alignment as to, this is me, this is what I believe in, this is my version of faith, this is what I feel that a man should be, should look like, should behave like, should feel like, and it's just a really interesting process to watch, and to help kind of keep the guardrails up for them, and to help them navigate and play that personal ping pong
Yeah.
to help them find their own form of alignment. But for you, like, what being in alignment, what does that mean for you? What does that look like for you?
For me,
Mm.
it would be going to the gym and
Yeah.
swimming, doing physical activities, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
and being in nature when I'm doing those physical activities, for example, like cycling, in the rural areas, for example, out of town,
Mm-hmm.
that bring me really into alignment, and everything feels like flowing, and it's
Yeah.
just a flow.
Mm-hmm.
For me, swimming is a big one, it's a major one. And yeah, I feel that when I found psychology and counseling, that's when I felt into alignment. And in that episode, he says like, I remember that scene quite vividly. He says like to his sister, and he says like, I don't know who I am, but I'm going to be somebody. And he felt somebody. He was somebody when he joined the firefighters, and that's how I found myself when I did psychology.
Mm.
And that was my alignment. Like, everything clicked. Because when I was doing engineering before, which I completed, like my diploma in engineering, I completed, but there was no, yeah,
No
ju-
love.
yeah, there was, it was just a certificate, like it was just a diploma.
Piece of paper.
It never felt that inner joy, that inner peace that you get when you're in alignment, that level of trust and faith.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember there was another interview that I watched by Carl Jung, which is one of the most renowned psychologists. And he says, they asked him back in the days, like, do you believe in God? And back when you started psychology. And he said, yes, I believe. And he says, and now? He says, now, no, I know. And that's the difference. That's, for me, that's alignment. When you know there's
Mm-hmm.
that greater power in no matter battle that you're going through, in no matter adversity that's coming in front of you, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I love that episode so much about this guy, because I saw myself so much in that.
Mm.
And I know my dad always told me that, um, that you're resilient. And I was like, what did that mean? And I didn't know, but mom called that stubbornness. And I'm like,
Yeah.
but they both have different perspective about it, right?
Yes.
But they are both right in their own definition of it.
Correct.
But for me, it's like I have this never give up. Like I don't know where it comes from, but you can call it stubborn.
Mm.
But that's me being in alignment, because I know everything will happen for the good.
Yes.
Everything will change for the good, for the better.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I, in the moment, I'm feeling crushed, I'm feeling down, I'm feeling like, like we are texting and saying, oh my God, why that's happening? Like, why should we go through that? It's like that. They say, like, to get wine, you need to crush
Crush
grape.
the grapes. Yeah. Or you need to heat up the
There should
coffee
be a better
beans,
way. There should be a better way, but like that's what we sign up for. And if we didn't have those adversity, and in those moments, I wouldn't have found psychology, I wouldn't have found life coaching, I wouldn't have found you, like
Yeah.
all these, or Wendy, or whoever it is, my spiritual path. So if
Yeah.
I didn't go through that, so I know, like, the boys are going through that for you, and I know how hard it is to see that as a mom.
Well, it's hard to
Mom,
watch, right? To bear witness to it and not want to fix it. Like, and I think sometimes a lot of people look at me and the way in which I parent my kids and going, this is their adventure. I have to allow them to make mistakes, to move through adversity in their own way.
Yeah.
But because otherwise, if I protected them from every potential mistake that I could possibly see them making, when I send them out into the world, what sort of adults are they going to be? They're not going to be the sort of adults that can go, oh, that was pretty shit. But you know what? I can still put food on my table. I can still put a roof over my head. I can still get in my car. I can still do, go and do my job. All of the things that need to have happen for them. But if I protected them from everything, and if I didn't give them the opportunity to test and measure for themselves, then I don't think I'm creating really fantastic men,
Yeah.
and that's my role, is to provide the barriers, but allow them to ping pong and shoot in the middle.
Yeah.
Until they work out where their sense of alignment is, into, if I'm giving them the answers, or I'm telling them, this is the right way to go about it. Instead, I'm having to ask, how do you feel about it? What does that feel like for you? You know, does it feel good? Does it not feel good? You know, I'm trying to remove them out of the ego and the thinking brain, you know, which is all very important, don't get me wrong. But I think if we don't learn to trust our own intuitive guidance and go, oh yeah, that feels really good, I'm going to keep going with that. Oh no, that does not feel good. So that for me is how I'm endeavoring to help my boys through situations that feel very adverse, for them to find their own sense of alignment. For me, I've got 2 words that identify for me when I'm in alignment or I'm not. When I'm frustrated, I am out of alignment majorly. So I know that that's a really good indicator. I'm either not where I'm supposed to be, or I'm doing more than I should, or I'm acting from a wounded space, or that I'm trying to take on too much and perhaps that's not what I'm meant to be doing. Whereas when I am in alignment, I'm satisfied. I'm like that cat on the, you know, on the windowsill, on the window ledge, looking out at the world, and the sun's shining and I'm warm and I'm feeling fabulous and amazing. That's my version of satisfied. So, you know, that's for me is walking in the morning when there's nobody else around and watching the sunrise, or, you know, walking down by the river and it's peaceful and it's still and you see the birds, and, you know, it's just glory. And you just get to be and be yourself. And that's a lovely, like you say, you know, the physical alignment in terms of, you know, either when I'm running or when I'm doing yoga or I'm out walking somewhere or I'm just enjoying being in nature. And I think when you're in alignment, like you say, you have that faith that everything's going to be okay. And of late, my practice has been endeavoring to speak to my guides and to trust what they're telling me and the direction in which they're aiding me to go, and knowing that it's working out for my highest and my best good. And the more I fight it and the more I try and say, no, that's not where I'm going, I hear David in my head going, Tina, you need to surrender, and then possibly surrender a little bit more. And then I go, oh yeah, right, thanks for that. Yeah. And I keep going. But that for me is alignment in going, what are my values? What's important? You know, is the voice in my head mine, or is it somebody else's, or is it a thought that's been put in there by someone else? Is it true to me? Yeah. And I think for most people, that's the trickiest part, is finding their own sense of alignment. And it does take time, and it takes practice every single day. You know, it's not a one and done.
But the way you describe it, it's more a feeling for you, right? Like, yeah. I mean, it's more about the feeling.
Yeah.
Right. And for me, I was like, feeling in alignment, it could be like maybe eating pizza, you know, or eating your favorite
food. Pizza and a glass of red wine. Sweet. I might not feel so fabulous the next day, but if it feels in alignment at the time.
Like, it's like about that feeling of happiness or pure joy, and what brings pure joy to your soul. Mm-hmm. But for you, like, what brings you back to alignment? Like when you say like, I'm frustrated, so what's your next step?
Breathing, for one, because I find when I'm frustrated, I'm like, you know, all that really shallow breathing. So it's having to take a step back. Counting to 10 for me, it's a really, really simple one, and going, Holy Mary, Mother, what am I doing? Is this where I need to be? How can I do this better? Or maybe I just need to go and have a shower, or maybe I just need to go and walk around the block, or maybe I just need to go and sit in my room and give myself a time out. just to take those a couple of minutes before you engage the brain, engage the ears, engage the heart space, before you start talking and going, is this of my highest and best? Is this for the highest and best for everybody as well? Or is the highest and best me removing myself out of the situation and just letting everybody else go for it? I'm not here to be a referee. I'm not here to be a fixer. I'm here to be observant and offer advice and leave it at that, because I can't run someone else's race. I can't run the race for my kids. I can't run the race for my partner. I can't run the race for all the stuff that he has to move through at the moment. All I can do is be me and be that soft place for people to land when they need it, and to be okay with that. I think that's the biggest thing, that we have to be okay where we're at, even when it is adverse and it's tricky and it's dark and it's murky. In all of that, we still need to find those little elements of abundance, whether it be, it's pouring with rain today, but I reckon if I look outside and if I look really hard, I might find a rainbow. Or I might find a puddle that I can go and put my gumboots on and I can go and jump in, and I can find a little bit of joy that way. And just to be happy. Even when it's yucky, be happy.
Be happy.
Be happy.
Don't worry, be happy. I love that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now I've got that wretched song in my head.
That's why I said it, maybe.
Charming individual. I'll send you some little ditty, and then it'll be
I'm
stuck
sure
in
you
your
will
head.
send me the minion version, like when they are singing, dancing.
Na 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 na.
It's interesting, like how you still take that step back and reflect and breathe. For me, it will be like putting on the Bluetooth earphones and putting Merchant Sega, like the music, like typical Merchant.
Okay.
Where we shake it off, like you dance it off. If I can.
You do a Taylor Swift moment.
Well, Merchant style, maybe.
You have to send that to me. I might need that.
I don't think so.
No?
It's not meant for the public. No, I'm just...
No. Only meant for the closed Facebook group, is it?
But it's just having fun for me. Like, it's dancing it in the moment. But if I can't, I would probably go for a walk on the beach and speak to God, and just say like, you know what? Like right now, I'm really, really pissed off or angry or sad or whatever it is, and have that conversation. Like it's like speaking to a friend.
Yeah.
And you can call it God or whatever is of your own understanding, like divine or spirit, however you call it, but have that conversation and just let it out. For me, I noticed like over the past year, this has been the most effective one to get me back into alignment. Just being like I go, because right now it's winter in New Zealand, and at the morning, like at 7, it's still dark. When I finish the gym, like it's still dark. So 6 in the morning, 6:30 or 7, still dark. So there's practically no one on the beach. So I will just go and anyway, I'll speak in Creole, so no one will understand. So it doesn't matter what I'm saying. So that's what I want people to understand as well. You don't need to speak like only in English, or you can speak in your language as well, and be whatever resonate with you in that moment. And that's what I do. And I also, okay, what is that moment teaching me? What's my lesson? And then what's my next step?
Best step.
Yeah, best thought or something like that. Yeah. And that's how I get back into alignment, like slowly but surely. and
It's
trust.
not immediate though, right? You know, like the coming back into alignment. It takes time and it takes practice, and it may be a few things that you need to do to pull yourself back. It may be going for a drive in your car and blasting the music, you know, and singing at the top of your lungs, or it may be getting on your bed, clutching a pillow and screaming into it. That's also a very good way of releasing. And that's what I think, that's what it is all about, is about that energetic release. When you're in the midst of adversity, you have to find a way to energetically release the feelings and the thoughts and the shiz that comes up when you feel like you're under pressure. Because that for me is what adversity feels like. It feels like a pressure cooker, and it just feels like it gets tighter and tighter and tighter. And if I don't do something to release it, then everybody around me pays for it. You know, and that's when relationships can get awkward and difficult, and you know, you growl at your partner or your best friend or your kids, or you know, whoever your co-workers, whoever happens to be in vicinity. We need to find, you know, some people it's a stress ball at work because other people drive you a bit mental. You have to find a way of what it means to come back into alignment. Could be 20 push-ups under your desk. I mean,
and
you know.
And I noticed that people lately with some clients, that one client actually asked me like, so when I'm facing, all my life I have been facing challenging situation. So I don't know what it meant to not have any challenge. So what does it look like? How does it feel? What should I do? Because will I get bored?
Oh, good question.
Without any challenge? And sometimes it's to remind yourself, because you have been so conditioned to think that you always need challenges to grow, which we understand. Yeah, there are challenges meant for you to grow, but it's also to understand that they are not meant to stay. They're meant for you to grow out of it.
They're meant for you to learn something.
Yes. And it's not about repeating that, right?
It only repeats if you don't learn the lesson, right? It just shows up in a different set of pants, you know. And I think sometimes when situations are adverse, they're adverse because people are expecting you to perform in a certain way, to behave in a certain way, to, you know, every time they ring and they want to dump all their shiz on you, that you're the perfect dumping ground. But the minute that you become more aligned with who you are and you put boundaries in place and say, actually, that doesn't work for me anymore, you're ceasing the drama cycle that you have with those people. When you start to put energetic boundaries in place, I was speaking to somebody about it on the weekend. It's going, if you don't like the way they're behaving with you, it's because you're allowing it. If you don't like the way they're behaving with you, it's because you don't have boundaries. If you don't like the way they're behaving, love them from a distance. Don't keep reaching out and don't keep trying to be their savior. They've got to learn all these things for themselves. You can't rescue people. And you know what? Reach out to other people that are going to provide the type of joy and happiness and fun that you want to have. If you're consistently reaching down into the pit, you're going to end up cycling in the bottom of that vortex with them. Change your environment, change the people that you hang out, and maybe those adverse situations will become less. But yes, there is an element in there where people are so used to the drama and they're so used to the conflict and they're so used to the challenges and the adverse situations that they don't know how to deal with the stillness.
It's like sitting with oneself and saying, okay, So what do I do now? Like, what do I think about now? What's next?
So what was your advice to the what happens if I get bored?
I say have fun, but I asked them like, what what's the opposite for you of stressful life? Like, what's your definition of stress? What's your definition? I asked them like, what's their definition of boredom? What's their definition of stress? Because they realized they stopped having fun since they were a kid because they were told it was wrong to have fun. You're meant to like behave a certain way. So they condition themselves. If they are having fun, if they are smiling too much, if they are being happy, it's wrong. So they stop themselves from even smiling feel painful for them.
We
And
just give
that's
everybody a very big permission slip now.
and I feel it's like totally out of alignment with
Yeah.
who you truly are.
Yeah.
Because at the core, you are like, we have been saying that for, I think, literally every single
Every episode.
It's like at the core, your love, your light, your pure joy, which means you're smiling, right? You're enjoying life. And
Yeah.
that's what you're meant to be. So they told me like they don't know what's the meaning of enjoying life. Like they don't know what it is.
Oh,
So
wow,
it's like
that's a big unpack, isn't it? You
yeah,
know,
that's taking some time.
and
And
it doesn't happen overnight, right?
no,
Like to
no,
find your own sense of alignment again.
but
So
it's
go on, sorry.
no. It's all about accepting where they are. And that's
Yes.
what I did. I said, like, you have to recognize where you are, what you have achieved, what you have done, even in not enjoying life, in not having fun, in not smiling, you're still here.
Yes. But recognizing that things need to change.
Yeah.
Think, you know, and that they've reached out for help and that they're, you know, endeavoring to do something about it. And I suppose that's the biggest key takeaway from today. If you feel that your situations are too adverse and you don't know how to bring yourself into some form of alignment where you can find simple pleasures and happiness and joy, then reach out, you know, put your hand up. Dava and I both have 30-minute free consultations that you can, you know, jump on. Let's have a call and see if there's, you know, an alignment between yourself and Dava or yourself and me, or for both of us. You know, we could look at doing something in those lines. But put your hand up and go, is this normal? Could I have a different form of normal?
Yeah.
And once you start, oh my Lord, it's a ride. And it's
like, yeah,
it's the roller coaster, right? You know, like and it's cyclic. There's joyful moments and there's sad moments and there's happy moments and there's all the gamuts of all the feelings that can come from it. But recognize that you don't have to live in a downward spiral all the time. It's not what the divine intended for you when they put you in your lovely human meat suit and put you on the planet. You were here to uncover your purpose and to go about doing that. And if you're not sure what that is, that's what we're here to help you with. So on that gorgeous note, and considering it's 1115, it may be time to say to all of you beautiful humans, we love you. We believe in you. We have great faith that you will find a way through your own adversity and begin to move into a space of alignment. And we look forward to having your company next week. And we hope that you enjoy our episode today. And if you have any queries or questions, please do not hesitate to reach out and get in contact with us. And as always, it has been my privilege to speak with my dear friend today. and to catch up. And I hope that you've gotten something out of it today, my friend, as I have, learning more about you every time we speak.
Yeah, it's like every time your eyes are popping, it's like, oh, I didn't know about that.
Oh, yeah, the eyebrows go up. It's like, whoo.
Like, well, you're not the first one. Like, I think my parents and my friends even are like, oh, I didn't know that about you. And I'm like, yeah, that's part of the divine masculine as well, is like being open about who you truly are, and people seeing who you truly are, and accepting how I am. Like, I accept myself fully how I am right now.
Yep.
And that's how it feels to be in alignment. And
in your freaky uniquishness, you know.
there you go. You couldn't say it better. So thank you for that, Tina. And thank you everyone who has been listening, and for our messy episode. Every week it feels that we're riding the wave together, and I really enjoyed that one as well.
Absolutely.
The usual. And I'm sure probably seeing you soon, right?
Yes.
In the next minute, maybe. But thank you, everyone. So take good care and have a good week. And if you're finding yourself out of alignment because of adversity or any challenge, just know that everything will work out for the best.
Does. Until then, take care.
Thank you.
Ciao.